Hi, it's Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. It's December 31. December 31. It's New Year's Eve, 2017. I want to give you 15 reasons for a soon coming Christ. Jan Markle at Olive Tree Ministries put this list together. It was published at prophecynewswatch.com. These are good ministries, good websites to look at. But the pieces of the eschatological puzzle, eschatology is the doctrine of future things. The pieces of this eschatological puzzle continue to manifest daily. Even signs that are primarily tribulation events are casting a shadow today. Choosing 15 articles from published stories this year, Jan is convinced that Jesus is coming soon. She lists number 1, Jerusalem. Speaking of Jerusalem, the prophet of God Zechariah wrote, "In that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, that all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it." The day in question is is an event during the Great Tribulation, if not the Great Tribulation itself, when Jerusalem is surrounded by her enemies and threatened with destruction. Jerusalem became a greater burdensome stone with Donald Trump's acknowledgement that this is truly Israel's capital and holy city. And so you can look for a greater and continuing controversy to surround Jerusalem in the year ahead. This is stuff that God has predicted. Secondly, the Gog-Magog alliance, spoken of in Revelation chapter 20. This alliance features prominently in the final days of Jerusalem. Magog is the land over which Gog, the ruler, reigns. Scholars have placed this in what is now modern Turkey, Asia Minor. Gog is characterized as the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. It has long been surmised that this corresponds to Moscow and Tobolsk, but it's not at all certain, but it sure sounds similar, doesn't it? Fast forward about 2,000 years, Iran, ancient Persia, Turkey, and Russia are now uniting with a primary goal in mind, and that is coming against Israel, as was foreshadowed in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. Turkey's Erdogan threatened to wipe out all Jews after the Jerusalem announcement. Moscow has just this week agreed to give Turkey anti-aircraft weapons. Joining Syria in the fight against ISIS, Russia gained a foothold in the region and made a lot of friends. Thirdly, a new false god came on the scene, and many hailed its arrival. An ex-Google executive is founding a church where artificial intelligence will be worshipped. It's called AI for short. And keep your eyes on this during 2018. Reminiscent of an idol that speaks, of a numbering system, the control of currency and people by these means? Perhaps. Number 4, the scoffing of eschatology has risen to a new level. Many said the announcement concerning Jerusalem was received well by many Christians only because it will hasten Christ's return. Now, it is well known that churches, meaning their leaders, have little or no interest in these things. They surely don't preach it. When you're preaching a health, wealth gospel or a feel-good gospel, the idea that Jesus is coming to start a fight doesn't play well. And any use of the Bible in a systematic way would interfere with the flow of money in these churches. Number 5, tribulation temple talk escalated after Donald Trump's announcement concerning Jerusalem. The prophetic word casually mentions the temple in Jerusalem during the Great Tribulation. What does that mean? It means they need to get busy and build it. It may mean that Jesus isn't coming back until that has been accomplished. And that makes everything so much more interesting. Number 6, one salacious scandal followed another in 2017, revealing that man's character now reflects the end-time warnings that we find in Romans chapter 1 and 2 Timothy chapter 3. You remember Romans chapter 1, don't you? God said, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations. Their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Now those are words that come toward the end of Romans chapter 1, and not describing only those people who go into the Great Tribulation or are alive at that time. It describes all human beings. It describes our heart. And we're not all of us guilty of all of these things, but that's where we go, left to ourselves. And many men have, and women. She also mentions 2 Timothy chapter 3, where God says, this know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. Now that describes our culture, our religious culture, more than it does almost anything else. Number 7, Israel continued pounding targets in Syria, foreshadowing the day when she will carry out the prophetic verse found in Isaiah 17:1, which speaks of the destruction of Damascus. Number 8, the idea of microchipping is now so accepted that one news outlet said people will soon be eager to be microchipped. It was suggested that we will eagerly line up like dogs for a chip. Revelation chapter 13 says, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. That's the picture of one who will operate as the religious leader during the Great Tribulation. He's called also the false prophet. Verse 12, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him. This is the Antichrist. And causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed, mimicking a resurrection. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. That image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had that mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Many now believe this will be a microchip embedded in the hand. Verse 18, here's the wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The reality is, when a microchip is offered in place of a credit card, will you receive it? You already have the microchip on your credit card, and the credit card is on your person, and without it, you cannot use that card and buy or sell anything. Will you give up that card that is so cumbersome and they keep replacing and it could be stolen or you can't find it for a chip that would just be placed in your hand on your person some way? Many people who are Bible-believing Christians and know the end-time scenarios, the eschatology, say, no, not me. But if I'm alive when that happens, I probably will let them do that. You see, the chip is not evil. It's no more evil than the internet or your smartphone or your credit card. It's the reprogramming of that device so that it works only for the beast. That's what's evil. The Bible says anybody who takes that mark will go to hell. Period. But then the Bible also teaches us that the church will not be here for any of this. Number 9, as predicted, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 13, evil is waxing worse and worse. Pagan gods are appearing in many places, including the United Nations. The occult is more appealing today than has ever been, and millennials are spellbound by the paranormal. Number 10, lawlessness is growing, and the spirit of Antichrist seems to be poured out on the earth in greater ways just in this last year. The Antifa movement is one illustration. George Soros is busier than ever in his waning years. People are seeking to take control. Number 11, there has been an intensification of calling evil good. We were warned about this in Isaiah 5, verse 20. Islamic Jihad proponent Linda Sarsour made threatening comments about President Trump, yet almost became Times Person of the Year. In the mind of the left, Islam is something to be celebrated. Number 12, the world of technology has declared war on Christians and conservatives. Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and more are pulling the plug or limiting righteous comments and ideology, yet they often celebrate all things evil. This sort of thing reached new levels in 2017. Number 13, the terms peace and safety. Those terms are used in the Bible in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. We read, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, believers, you're not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. You're children of light. You're children of the day. We're not of the night. We're not of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. Pay attention. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. Has it never wondered you why people do that? But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet the hope of salvation. For God hath not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, admittedly, this peace and security is false. The term was used with greater intensity in this last year. Donald Trump has been heralded as the president who will bring Israel peace and security. On December 18, Fox News said President Trump would bring that peace and security around the globe. The president himself stated that he, quote, has laid a pathway to peace and security in our world. Men want that. Number 14, in spite of world turmoil, there is greater business as usual in America. A greater business as usual atmosphere. Like nothing else, nothing's going on, it's no big deal. Since Donald Trump has been president, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has closed at record high, 82 times. The Bible suggests there will be such a comfortable time on earth when Christ returns, in spite of the frequent birth pangs which have also been record-setting. It will be a time of peace and safety. That peace and safety is false, but the world won't know that until Jesus comes. Number 15, there is even more evidence that only Jesus ruling and reigning from Jerusalem could ever provide great government. It has become evident that mankind cannot drain a swamp filled with alligators and poisonous snakes. Washington is corrupt to the core because of mankind's heart. Because, according to Jeremiah 17:9, it is desperately wicked beyond anything anyone can imagine. Draining the swamp was a great campaign slogan in 2017. But it showed us that first, man's heart must be made new. These are some of the things that point to a closing curtain on this phase of life that we call humanity on earth. The King is coming. Perhaps today.